Hello and welcome back to True Crime Guys Podcast, Headlines and Shenanigans Edition. And you know what that means? That means Andy gets to talk more.
I am the host this time, Michael.
yeah.
How dare you interrupt me first?
Well, I'm glad to be on your show.
You're my guest.
But guys, this week on Patreon, that is why we're doing Headlines and Shenanigans. If you're unfamiliar, every 3 or 4 weeks, that's what happened this week, right? Every 3 or 4 weeks, we do a Patreon exclusive, and that episode is only available on Patreon. Obviously, it's exclusive there. But in its place here on the free platform, we do Headlines and Shenanigans, and I think we're on number 21. I think that's what the title says.
Hit me.
Headlines and Shenanigans 21.
We got it. Jackpot,
That's right.
blackjack, whatever.
But this week on Patreon, we talked about a murder that took place in 1969 of a young boy, 15 years old, John McCabe. And we are talking about it because here we are 40 years later and it has just been solved. But anyways, guys, you need to check out that episode. It is a riveting case, but so tragic. Be warned. It does involve teenagers committing violence towards other teenagers and whatnot. But the case of John McCabe is one that should be heard. You can check that out on Patreon, patreon.com/truecrimeguys. But today, we are getting into some headlines, another update of a case.
We do have an update to start
Ellen
off
Greenburg
with.
update. I'm excited about that.
We do have an update on
Yes.
Ellen Greenburg. Ellen Greenburg, when did you cover that case on Sandu? Like 2-3 years ago?
No, that wasn't Sandu. That was a True Crime Guys case. Me and Lauren covered it.
Oh, yeah, okay. So it was like it was a long time ago at this point.
It's been a long time.
We've brought it back up a couple times now because there's always been like touches on it.
Yeah, it's a shocking case.
Yeah, we will. So
because
this
of
week,
the conclusion.
Yeah, because of the decision they came to.
Right, right.
But this is one of the headlines we came to. This was an actual update for us. A Pennsylvania Supreme Court, or the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, has agreed to review the suicide ruling in a case of a woman with 20 stab wounds. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court has agreed to appeal the family of Philadelphia woman Ellen Greenburg, whose 2011 stabbing was initially ruled a homicide before the medical examiner switched it to suicide after police objected to the decision.
Yeah, I think everyone objected to the decision.
I think
How could you not object to the decision?
Yeah, that was the worst executed suicide anybody has ever done.
Wounds,
if so,
20 stab wounds in the back.
It's
It's also the most impressive.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow, how?
The most impressive failed suicide. Not failed, but yeah, just that was weird. If that's what you guys chose, okay.
Yeah. That's the reason we did that case. We're like, hold on. Ruled to suicide? Say what now?
Sorry, what? First grade teacher Ellen Greenburg, who was 27 years old, was found in her apartment with over 20 stab wounds. Police considered her death to be a suicide because her apartment door was locked from the inside, and her boyfriend, who said he found her after breaking down the door, had no defensive wounds. So Philadelphia medical examiner Marlon Osborne initially ruled her death as a homicide, noting the large number of stab wounds, including 10 of which to the back of her neck. After police publicly challenged the findings, Osborne switched the ruling to a suicide without explanation. So if you guys remember any of that case, there were some twists and turns in that case that did not give off a slight air of suspiciousness at all.
No.
But Greenberg's parents are seeking to have the ruling changed back to a homicide, and the city has objected, arguing that the state law makes clear that a medical examiner can be wrong as to the manner of death and yet cannot be compelled to change it. So I feel like you already got them to change it once. So if they're not compelled to change it, then why did they change it the first? So if they're allowed to be wrong,
right,
but they're not compelled to change it.
If they choose to change it, then they can, but you cannot compel them to change it.
Yeah, you can't compel them to change. I mean, you can't.
Right.
I mean, we can compel them because listen, the law is about you, okay? You cannot. But yeah, this was one of those cases. It was like highly suspicious to be a ruling of a suicide when every single thing just pointed to there was somebody else in this apartment.
Absolutely.
I don't know how they got out or how they got in, but somebody else was in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Supreme Court said it will consider whether executors and administrators of an estate have standing to challenge an erroneous finding recorded on the descendant's death certificate, whether the finding constitute a bar of a material impediment to recovery of the victim's compensation, restitution, or wrongful death, as well as a private criminal complaint. So yeah, they're coming back to say, like, I think if this is what this is saying, like, whether or not the executives of this person's will can come back and say, hey, we are actually going to overrule this, charge them with like wrongful death. Can the people, not the person who the crime was committed to, but the relatives of that person, can they come back and challenge this thing? So
Right.
We'll see how this thing goes, but I have a feeling that there's been enough public pressure at this point and enough people have heard this case to where I don't feel like the Philadelphia Supreme or the Pennsylvania Supreme Court they don't really have much to stand on at this point. Like, we've all seen the evidence. They've seen the evidence.
Yeah.
It does not make sense.
Change it to a homicide and open this bad boy back up.
Yeah, I need to get one of those just chain smoking detectives off the bench and be like, hey, you're in the game now.
Yep.
I'll have him by Thursday.
Get his cell ready.
Yeah, I need me a rookie partner who does things by the book. I'm gonna break him by the week. But yeah, so hopefully we got a good little follow up on this, and I do believe that there's going to be some changes in this case. I don't see how you can continuously uphold this suicide ruling after all the evidence and all the outcry. But we will follow up on this once the news comes out, whether or not they do change it. But
Fair
Michael,
enough.
one of the big headlines that's kind of been permeating the news cycle over the past few days, I guess weeks maybe at this point, has been this case of a wrongful death at Disney. Have you seen anything about this yet?
I have not.
So I've been kind of hearing some jokes here and there, and I was wondering what this was about, and I kind of looked into the headlines. Disney wants a wrongful death suit thrown out of court because the widower bought an Epcot ticket and had Disney Plus.
What does that have to do with anything?
You got to read that fine print, Michael. Do you never read the fine print?
I never read the fine print.
See, you got to read the fine print.
That's why Disney owns my soul.
Yes.
Yes.
This podcast is actually sponsored by...
Oh,
No, I wish. We have much more budget.
right.
But this is from CNN. A man suing Walt Disney Parks and Resorts for the wrongful death of his wife is facing a new legal hurdle. Disney is trying to get it thrown out of court and sent to arbitration because he signed up for Disney Plus a few years earlier. Court documents show that the company is trying to get the $50,000 lawsuit tossed because the plaintiff, Jeffrey Piccolo, signed up for a 1-month trial of the streaming service Disney Plus in 2019, which requires trial users to arbitrate all disputes with the company.
Oh my gosh.
So they are saying in the fine print of Disney Plus, any legal action you choose to take against the Disney company must go through arbitration. You cannot sue the Disney company direct. It's like this tiny fine print.
Shit.
If you signed up for that, it doesn't say if you're trying to sue them for anything regarding Disney Plus.
Right.
So the company lawyers also claim that because Piccolo used Walt Disney Park's website to buy Epcot Center tickets, Disney is shielded from a lawsuit from the estate of Piccolo's deceased wife. I'm gonna struggle with her name, and I apologize with this. Kanakporn Tangsuan, who died of a reaction to severe food allergies.
Oh, wow.
In a legal filing responding to Disney's claims, Piccolo's lawyer, Brian Denny, called Disney's argument preposterous and said that the notion that signing up for a Disney Plus free trial would bar a customer's right to a jury trial with any Disney affiliate or its subsidiaries is so outrageously unreasonable and unfair that it is to shock the judicial conscience.
Wow, well said.
Like, you throwing some big words there at the Disney Corporation.
Well said, sir. Well
But yeah,
said.
that is...
But I agree with that. Yeah.
It
that's
sets a
absurd.
terrifying legal precedent
Yeah,
to
it
be like,
does.
what is in the fine print of some of these contracts we've all read and all not
You've seen the
read.
South Park episode?
Yes, that was a big meme about this. It's like, why do they never read the terms and conditions? We're all gonna be human centipedes in no time. But yeah, this sets a dangerous legal precedent to where, like, if Disney could get people to where it's like, hey, you signed up for Disney Plus one time, so you signed a contract that said you are never going to sue the Disney Corporation. It's like,
That's insane.
that is like a scary legal precedent. So I don't believe, and a lot of people are kind of questioning that whether or not the courts are actually going to hear this like complaint or hear this like case from Disney.
Right.
A lot of people think it's going to get thrown out, but at the same time, Disney's got some money to really push this. Like you
Yeah.
got to think Disney's got more lawyers than some states have judges. Like it's got to be ridiculous at this point.
Oh my God. Insane.
So like Walt Disney Parks and Resorts is explicitly seeking to bar its 150 million Disney Plus subscribers from ever prosecuting a wrongful death case against it in front of a jury, even if the case facts have nothing to do with Disney Plus, Denny wrote in a court paper. In October of 2023, this is what stemmed the entire incident.
Right.
His wife, Tang Suan, and her husband, Jeffrey Piccolo, and Piccolo's mother dined at the Raglan Road Irish Pub in Disney Springs, which is part of the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida.
Okay.
The waiter guaranteed the couple that certain foods would be made allergen-free, which the two confirmed several more times before dining, according to the lawsuit. Although some of the food delivered lacked the allergen-free flags, the waiter again assured them that it was allergen-free. But after dinner, Tang Suan, who was 42 at the time, went shopping in the Disney Springs area and then began to suffer from a severe acute allergic reaction.
Oh my God.
Despite self-administering an EpiPen, Tang Suan died from asphyxia due to elevated levels of dairy and nut in her system, the lawsuit said, attributing the information to a medical examiner's investigation. So she was very diligent with her efforts of going to this place. She checked the menu beforehand. She called ahead, and they assured her that all of this food would be prepared allergen-free.
Yeah.
That she would be absolutely safe eating this. And she had
she's
a
definitely
life-threatening lawsuit.
Man,
like
I don't
allergen.
see how this gets thrown out, dude.
Yeah, like I said, that is a dangerous precedent.
Someone died, man. Fuck your Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's a totally different thing. You sign up for Disney Plus, okay, maybe you can't sue Disney. You can't sue Disney because their prices increased unexpectedly.
Right.
You can't sue Disney Plus because they took off Pinocchio one day without saying anything.
Right,
So,
right.
No, but if you go to a Disney park and you die because of someone's negligence at that park,
Yeah.
like
no,
that
you can't pull that Disney Plus shit.
that's half the country would not be allowed to sue Disney under any circumstance. Like they're just completely safe from all legal
Yeah, you need to
ramifications.
keep an eye on this because if they get away with this and this does get thrown out, holy shit.
Or it doesn't get thrown out. Like that's the thing. They need it to get.
I mean the overall wrongful death suit gets thrown out.
Yeah, they
because
should
of
not.
Disney. That's what I'm
okay.
talking about, not the motion from Disney. I'm talking about if the wrongful death suit gets thrown out because of this. Holy shit.
That is a scary precedence for
Yes,
every
it
other
is.
company to then immediately, if something like that were to happen, you would immediately see every single major corporation update their terms and conditions.
Oh my
Every
God.
single, it would just be just on your phone, just every app is, we've updated our terms and conditions. We've updated our terms
Yeah.
and conditions. Everybody would put
Yeah.
that fucking clause in there.
Yep.
So yeah, this is, I don't see how this makes it, but at the same time, we are living in a dangerous time frame or timeline to this
doubt.
extent where like sometimes things like this get through. Like this company has enough money, enough pressure, enough lawyers.
I mean, and if it does go through, we might not even know about it.
I feel like there will be some sort of like big outcry if this does not get thrown out. Like if the Disney like rebuttal doesn't get thrown out,
Yeah.
there's going to be some public outcry because it's going to there's going to be a massive call for we're going to need some regulation now. We're going to need some oversight. If you guys thinking these guys are all immune from everything,
Yeah.
so
Well, people would just be canceling a lot of shit. That's for sure.
yeah. I think if something like that did happen, I think
reading
you would
stuff.
definitely see Disney lose some profits. Mm-hmm. If everybody realized they can't sue Disney for anything,
Right?
yeah, Disney's lost some profits after that.
Yeah.
And not as many people going to Epcot if the risk of not being able to get your foot run over by one of the golf carts and not be able to sue is not there.
Right. We'll
Sometimes you
see.
just gotta get too close to Goofy and get a quick uppercut, and then you can blame him for everything. What are you gonna believe? Me or this Goofy dog?
Right? He can't even talk.
Not legally. I said I
Not
can't.
legally.
You'll get fired if you do. Although I do have a great video that I can always post of me getting too close to Mickey Mouse at Disney when the guy has to tell me, hey, give Mickey some room, sir.
I remember that.
I love that video.
That's hilarious.
Apparently I did get too close to Mickey Mouse as an adult.
It's like, whoa.
Taking a picture with my child. You got too close, big guy. But yeah, like I said, this is a scary time we're living in. If the major corporations think they can kind of slip this into some of their terms and conditions, and we're all just gonna have to accept the fact that they are now legally immune from everything.
Yeah, they've already been slipping all kinds of shit in terms and conditions. Don't read your TikTok ones if you're on there. Oh shit.
Like I said, we all saw what Apple was doing to those kids.
Yeah.
But for one of our next stories, Michael, this is a bit of a headline, but I don't want to say this is too much of a shenanigan because this guy I would be pissed. Everybody in this, if this guy had anybody's luck, everybody in this guy's shoes would be so pissed.
Excuse me.
Right down near our neck of the woods in good old hot Atlanta.
Oh god.
A couple sues an Atlanta hospital for allegedly losing part of a patient's skull following brain surgery.
Oh my god.
You know how you just misplace a big chunk of skull every once in a while?
It
You got
falls
so
into
many of
the
them.
old skull basket, gets mixed up with some other pieces. What are you gonna do?
It looks just like the bloody tissues we were pulling out. You just
seriously.
kind of scrape everything off at the end of the
Oh, my
surgery. You know,
gosh.
everything just goes in one bin.
Well, we send them through the dishwasher, and sometimes some get clogged in the pipe. You know what I'm saying?
It's not- we
In the
don't lock 'em
drain.
in.
Don't worry about it.
But a couple is suing an Atlanta hospital that allegedly lost part of a patient's skull after it was removed during brain surgery because, in quotation marks, several bone flaps were lacking in identification. Well, you know, we took out all these pieces of bone, but nobody fucking labeled them. Look at these, just willy nilly on here. What are we gonna do with these? How do I know these bones go to this guy's head? Look at this. Come on.
Extra parts.
Yeah, we're just gonna just scrape those into the extra bin. It's like a Lego. It's
Like
like a
the
Lego mix match
Like
bin.
the old mechanic motto. You put your engine back together. You got a few extra bolts. You're like, extra parts.
Yeah, I guess we didn't need all those bolts.
It's running, ain't it?
Yeah, that's what the dog. I guess we didn't need all those. I guess we didn't need all those bone fragments, right? I mean, look at him. He's got. Half. Well, yeah, he's pretty dented there, actually. But yeah,
That one's plastic.
Yeah, they were. Fernando and Maria Cluster are accusing staff at Emory University Hospital Midtown of negligence that led to an increased hospital stay as well as both physical and emotional damages. Fernando Cluster was at Emory Healthcare Hospital in September of 2022 because he was suffering from an intercerebral hemorrhage, otherwise known as bleeding into the brain. Like his brain was bleeding, so they had to remove some of the pressure. Mm-hmm. To treat the bleed, Cluster required emergency surgery that would include removing a portion of his skull. The doctors removed a 12 by 15 centimeter bone flap with a plan to secure it back into place during a second surgery weeks later. So 12 to 15 centimeters is still a pretty decent size.
Pretty good sized bone flap, dude.
Chunk of your head. It's a pretty good sized chunk of your skull.
I mean, as far as bone flaps are concerned, it's a pretty good size.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
I don't want to lose that much of my skull.
No, I feel like it's noticeable. If there's a 15 by 12 centimeter chunk missing of my head, that's a big soft spot. So, but in November of 2022, when Cluster was then set to have his follow-up operation, the hospital allegedly struggled to find the missing bone flap.
Oh, gosh darn. Where did we put it?
When Emory's personnel went to retrieve the bone flap, there were several bone flaps with incomplete or missing patient identification, and therefore Emory could not be certain which of any of these belonged to Mr. Cluster.
Just a shoebox underneath the operating table.
Apparently it was. Just a fucking loose fucking New Balance box. It's just
let's
a bunch
see what we got in here. Some of these are marked.
Got some phalanges in here. What do you look at? Got some teeth. What do you want? Skull fragments?
Skull fragments. I think it's in the other drawer here. Hold on.
12 by 15. That's oddly specific. I gotta bring out my ruler here. Would you say that's about 12 by 15? No? Oh, okay. That's got teeth in it too. That's
Whoa,
weird.
hold on. That's a jaw.
That's just, like I said, it was a loose box of bones. Apparently, they were just keeping
weird.
to be like, you might know what we're doing with these bone fragments and these
my
pieces
God.
of bone. We're supposed to keep these?
Housekeeping came in and they were like, whatever, and they swept it into the box.
It's just gotta be, like I said, that's a weird little medical mishap to be like, okay, well let's the whole point of this surgery is to take out this one specific bone fragment, and we're gonna keep this for later and
Don't
put it
lose
back.
this
We're gonna put that right where we're not gonna lose it.
That's
and then
right.
where'd it go? Fuck!
You gotta be kidding me.
just a doctor with ADHD being like, I swear it was just in my hand. What the? It's like Seinfeld and the Junior Mint.
Right. Later on, he finds it in the dryer at home.
It was in my pocket. What?
Why would I do that?
I wasn't even wearing these pants.
I thought it was my car keys.
I was wearing scrubs. How did it? This is a winter coat. But yeah, how do you misplace? That's the one thing that you took out of this surgery. It wasn't like you did other things and then like this was the after parts. Like the whole point of the surgery was to take a chunk of skull out to relieve some pressure and keep that skull to put back in a few weeks. And somehow you missed step 2 of 2. Like
it's a lot to worry about. Okay,
take skull out, keep skull for later. We took the skull out and tacos. I want some Taco Tuesday. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Let's not worry about that skull we left on the table.
One of the bigger problems coming from the story, Michael, which has always
bigger than this.
one of the big things that is actually really driving some of the outcry.
Yeah,
is that this ultimately required him to have to get a synthetic bone flap and entailed a significantly longer stay in the hospital than he was anticipating.
Oh, shit.
The couple alleges that the synthetic flap also caused an infection and it required an additional surgery.
This hospital sucks.
Cluster then has incurred medical expenses in the excess of $146,845.60 after being charged for the synthetic flap and the prolonged hospital stay in addition to his surgeries.
Oh my God.
So the hospital took out his skull, lost the skull,
right,
and then told him, we can put in a fake piece, but it's going to cost you $140,000 if you don't want this 12 by 15 centimeter soft spot in your head.
Right. Jesus.
So the couple then alleges in the suit that he has been unable to work and his family relationship has been impaired and he has suffered permanent injuries due to the hospital's negligence. I cannot doubt that. That is...
now that's somebody that's got a lawsuit right there.
Yeah, that is some, I want to say medical malpractice or maybe some negligence, but still...
Both.
And just the fucking dirt, salt in the wound of being like, hey, we're really sorry about losing that chunk of your head. Good news is you got these nice options of what we can put to replace it.
Listen, we're going to upgrade your room.
You can pick any kind that you want, and you'll get a nice extended stay while we include it. Just please don't turn over the back of the clipboard. That's got the billing on it. You don't need to do anything about that yet.
Don't worry about that. At least not until we get that other piece of your skull in there.
Until we finish everything up, and we'll make sure it's sent right to your insurance.
Right. Yeah.
But the medical
insurance?
The American healthcare system, folks, it is a magical place to get lost in, is it not?
It is. It is. Also reminds me of a South Park episode, the movie.
Oh, my, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I say you can always tie something back to a South Park episode at this
point.
No,
the new one, the obesity one, the end of obesity.
Oh, yeah. Special or whatever.
Yes. Everyone should watch that. It's hilarious.
I do like
and informational.
But
yeah.
But yeah, like I said, guys, we had a few good headlines this week. We had a good little recap and a nice little update to the Ellen Greenburg case.
Yeah.
Which I cannot believe that has gone this long without being overturned. The fact that case was 20 stab wounds, 10 to the back of the neck.
Maybe this is what it needs. Maybe it just needs a little more pressure.
Just needs a couple more just doofuses just talking about it on a podcast.
No, I don't mean this. I mean the fact that it's in the headlines.
Yes, true.
And I'm not acting like we have any pull on this, but I mean the fact that we picked it is proof that it's out there. It's popular. It's in the headlines right now. So maybe all of that press will help get it the traction that it deserves. You know.
And guys, I'm going to definitely follow this little Disney lawsuit case at this point because not to brag, but I myself am a Disney Plus subscriber. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay financially.
Wow, humble brag.
Humble brag. But just in case, my kids ever want to go to Disney World one day, I got to check out that Galaxy's Edge one day. So I just want to make sure if I get into a fight with Chewbacca one day, just depends on who wins. I got to see who's going to sue. If I gotta show up at Galaxy's Edge and call Kylo Ren a bitch,
I'm definitely tempted to check out the fine print now, though.
Right,
at least a little bit.
Just a whole day with your jeweler's glasses on, just scrolling through. Just oh my god, what do you mean I owe him tithe?
Firstborn, what the hell?
Prima nocta, what? I'm already married.
Oh my god. All right. Well, Andy, thank you for those headlines. And most importantly, thank you for those shenanigans because they're always a great break from the crime that we discuss.
We need to lighten it up every once in a while.
We do. We absolutely do.
Need to keep things not boring. I love that. My favorite YouTube comment recently of our show was, "Your show is boring." My bet it's just the most favorite, most detailed, straight to the point comment.
Andy, what did
I've
I tell
ever
you about
seen.
reading comments?
It was just
Stop it.
Got on there. Your show is boring. I'm like, man, that was direct, and that's a Roger Ebert quote if I've ever heard one.
Concise. I mean, this guy's all killer, no filler. Obviously, we're not for him.
This guy knows boring. This was a very boring response. This guy knows boring. No flair in this response whatsoever.
No,
not even
not at all. Not at all. You could have typed anything.
Yeah.
Could have typed, this show's boring as fuck.
You could have been creative.
Said anything.
You could have shown us up at how boring
Yeah.
we were and been so creative.
We're not worth it, Andy.
Nah, we're too boring.
But anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. Please, if you'd like to support the show, subscribe on YouTube, right? And leave us comments about how boring we are. I don't care. All comments are good comments on YouTube, I always say. But yes, and also check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/truecrimeguys, where we published a regular TCG episode this week. Today it came out. While you're listening to this, you can also go listen to that on Patreon. Again, link to that right below the description of this episode, as well as a link to Oh My Gaia.
Oh my Gaia.
That's right.
I do have a bit of a confession to make about some Oh My Gaia, Michael. And
Let's hear
it's a sad but also slightly fortunate confession. Mistake.
Okay.
I accidentally.
Did you eat some?
No, but I accidentally spilled almost a whole bottle of beard oil in my car. So I'm gonna have to re-up on my Oh My Gaia subscription. But my car smells amazing tonight. Just so you guys know.
I bet it does, Andy, and that scent's there to stay.
Yes, it's soaked into the leather.
That's right. Oh My Gaia is an innovative all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. And there's tons of scents to choose from. Andy, what does your car smell like now?
True Crime Pine,
Oh,
Michael.
man. If I could pick one to start with,
The house favorite.
that would be it. That would be it. The house favorite. Start with True Crime Pine, guys, from Oh My Gaia. But there's also plenty of other scents like vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, Egyptian musk. There's bergamot, amber, pear, sweet pea, sailor, barbershop. And like I said, True Crime Pine was made for True Crime Guys. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can use the code word CREEPER for 15% off your order. And you can check them out at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram. But most importantly, just check out ohmygaia.com, ohmygaia.com. And that's where you can use code word CREEPER for 15% off your order. Links right below the description of this episode, as well as the code word for your 15% off. All right. Andy, you got anything?
I don't think so, Michael. I think it's time to hit that AC unit and cool this place back down.
It is. It is.
Those hot summer nights.
Let's wrap it up, man. All right, guys. Well, we'll be back next week with a new True Crime Guys episode. Until then, just keep on creeping, guys. We'll see you.
Bye.